So we've been going over the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody for some time on my channel. I've had a lot of fun. My first video wasn't super great, the first season of Zack and Cody. I feel like I was still new at this whole YouTube thing and I was piecing stuff together. So there's a lot of glitches in that episode. Please forgive me. But I've had genuinely such a good time talking about these episodes, especially when it got to the second season and I had to get to those 39 episodes. I feel like I worked really, really hard on that. So please check it out, the complete second season video. It's 3 hours long and yeah, it's quite a ride. But now that we're at the final season of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, I don't even know what to do with myself. I was thinking maybe I should get a job. No, I'm just kidding. I would never get a job. But yeah, the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody has gone on strong for so long. I believe this is 70 episodes in. So these are the final 22 of the whole series. And so much life happens over the course of these 22 episodes that I was not prepared for. Like, the second season had 39 episodes that were all the same, essentially happening. You know, like they're in the hotel. There's not a lot of plot progressing stuff. It's mainly episodic. But the third season has a lot of recurring elements that just keep the show going over and over again. A lot of really important stuff. One of the most important being the absence of Maddie. Like, Maddie and London were always the B-plot. They always had lines and stuff going on, but this time Maddie kind of stepped away. And I didn't remember a lot of this season because of that. Like, I feel like it took out the classic Zack and Cody I know so well. Not only that, but the boys go to high school, which is a huge change. You know, like, they've always been in middle school up until this point. We've gotten a couple episodes, like the school newspaper episode, or like just seeing them at school, but now it becomes like a bigger staple of the series. We even get a couple new characters coming in, like Nia, which is Mr. Mosby's niece. She's like really sassy and kind of shares a lot of Zack's traits, where she's a little impulsive, a little bit cunning, more so out for herself, and it's very entertaining. I really like her as a character. If anything, I wish she was in it way earlier. Zack and Cody get jobs. Mr. Mosby stays at his job, which is not surprising at all. And they even have a few out-of-genre episodes, like a holiday episode. They have a superhero episode. Like, they clearly were trying to get a lot in before their show ended. And before they announced the Sweet Life on Deck, this is kind of all we had. At this point, I didn't hear about Sweet Life on Deck, so I thought this third season was the last we were going to get of these two blonde twins. But without further ado, why don't we go through episode by episode and actually figure out what made this final season so worth it? Because I think it's a really, really good one, despite all the stuff I just said. We start with Season 3, Episode 1, Graduation. And this is about the boys actually leaving middle school. It's funny because we get like a little bit more glimpses into their middle school right as we're like transitioning to the high school, so it's kind of random. We got Freddie Benson's mom as a guest star in this episode. I was not expecting that at all. The plot is about everybody getting ready for graduation, and Zack is not going to pass. Like, he has to go to summer school, therefore he can't graduate with the rest of his class. I'm not sure if you guys remember that. I definitely remember being freaked out by a class or two convincing me that I might not graduate. I feel like they always put it in a way that they never let you be held back unless like you really don't do the work or you miss too many days. Like, I don't remember ever any of my friends having the kind of issues Zack is having in this episode. Like, there's always some way to kind of make it up. Of course, Cody just happens to be competing with Barbara for valedictorian, the person that has the final speech at their graduation, which I don't remember them doing that in middle school, but hey, I could be wrong. And it's fun seeing their relationship have a lot of tension because of that. It definitely foreshadows a lot that goes on with him and Bailey. I don't know why Cody's complex just has to be that he's smart. Like, he can't have more character traits than that. I mean, it was the 2000s, what can I say? Seeing them argue, though, is actually a really funny part of this show. Zack really gets away with this for longer than you would expect. Like, he manages to get somebody else's entire robe. He ends up tricking the audience that his name got called by, like, throwing something at the teacher. And the people we're really following this is the parents. Like Zack and Cody's mom and dad just think that there was no way he was ever gonna pass, so they're spending this whole episode hyping him up, being like, no, this is a celebration, and he just feels guiltier and guiltier, making him double down on trying to keep this secret. In the B-plot, we're actually introduced to what Maddie does for most of this season, which is be the leader of this Girl Scout troop. It's a bunch of misfit, behaviorally challenged kids, which is just 2000s talk for they are emotional. which, normal, I guess. We get the little girl from the Con Man episode comes back, which is super random. I hated that episode, sorry. And we get this, like, new emo girl. We get this liar. Like, everybody here is just doing whatever it takes to aggravate Maddie. And as the season progresses, we actually see more of Maddie and them as opposed to anything else. But at least we get London in this plot line, kind of making it easier for us to get used to the idea of the show changing so much. We get one last Maddie and London plot. Maddie does not really want to be here and is pretty obvious about it, especially by the way they treat her. It's actually really not fair, but hey, if you're a camp counselor, this is actually kind of normal. Can't help but talk about the fact that she was filming High School Musical 2 at this point. She was already too big for her britches on Sweet Life, which is kind of sad. I feel like, looking back, like, you didn't want to be a part of some of those episodes. Like, come on, Maddie. Zach's plan gets so far, even to the end of the whole ceremony. It's not until the party they have afterward, which, by the way, why is Mr. Mosby invited? I feel like he's the antagonist here. And Zach admits to everybody what he did and that he could still graduate, he's just going to be having to go to summer school, which... that doesn't sound that big of a deal to me. It sounds like you were gonna graduate anyway. The parents kind of ridicule him about being honest, and it becomes one of those stereotypical episodes. Cody and Barbara end up making up, and they really like each other, want to go into high school together, whatever. And it's cool to see that Kurt is gonna be a little bit more of a recurring character that's introduced in this episode specifically. But yeah, all around, pretty good episode. Strong start to a final season, and it doesn't even feel like a final season, which is really awesome. The second episode is where it gets a little bit more off its rockers. It's called Summer of Our Discontent, and this one is continuing the storyline of the past episode, so we're no longer an episodic series. So the boys are off into their summer that leads into high school, and everything is a lot more important to them, I guess. Cody wants to get a job, so he's like, maybe I could work at the Tipton. Of course, Mosby shuts that down, like, really quickly. We're introduced to Millicent, which is the takeover position for the Candy Girl, but she's actually kind of funny, so I'll let her stay for now. And Cody wants to be a part of the Paul Revere Mini Mart, which is such a random celebration to have a grocery store named after these, like, historical people. Like, I don't know why. It's funny to see the manager get so into it, though. Like, he lives and breathes this grocery store, which is insane. Look how little employees there are there. Is it just him? Like, there's nobody that goes into this store. But yeah, Cody really wants to work there, and this guy will not let him. I guess Cody's too young. I remember when I was in 8th grade, I was trying to go out to get jobs, and they definitely said I was too young. When I was 15, they were like, you have to be 16. And then when I was 16, they're like, you have to be 18. And I'm like, I don't understand the job market. Luckily, I haven't had that issue since. But yeah, so Cody ends up promising this man that he could get him a date with London Tipton. And London already knows this, like, right off the bat. It's so funny that she chooses now to be, like, a genius. Maybe she's dealt with this a lot longer. Because when Cody goes to her with this, she essentially is like, no, I couldn't do that. Until Cody convinces her that this is, like, a publicist and is just going to be interviewing her. Okay, good. Good sell. Feels like a Hannah Montana episode, the way Cody has to jump through hoops to lie to both people. But that's never an issue. I love when sitcoms have, like, the deceptiveness coming from 3 different angles. It makes the misunderstanding so much funnier. Meanwhile, Zach in the B plot is getting used to summer school, something, thank God, I've never had to go to, even though I definitely should have. He basically gets beaten up by everybody in the class because he becomes the smartest kid, essentially. He's like the Cody of the classroom, a really interesting look for Zach. It gives him, like, that perspective that, like, oh, this is what it's like to be even a little bit responsible. Because, like, he doesn't want to just blow all his time in summer school doing nothing. Like, he actually does the work and he gets through the days a lot easier, and then people just treat him worse and worse. Like this guy named Brick. How is his name Brick? I don't know why, it's funny though. They all keep intimidating him, and it's just like, why is there so many new cast members? Like, we have all the kids in Maddie's camp, now we have all the kids in this episode. Luckily, it doesn't go on for too much longer. Like, these kids are not in more than this episode, but it is pretty interesting. The teacher is so wacky. I don't know if she would ever actually treat students like this. I mean, obviously it's Freddie Benson's mom, so maybe she would, but it's crazy. So Zach has to choose between being well-liked and actually being a responsible person and getting his stuff done, which is a really admirable plot. I like that he ends up coming out on top for it. He even invites everybody in the class over to help study for the test because he doesn't want anybody to go back to summer summer school again next year, which is a really brave thing to do. I don't know why they had to go to his apartment. I feel like this classroom was used in a lot of Disney Channel shows too. Like, That's So Raven definitely took place in this. I don't remember Hannah Montana taking place here, but like something about this room is a little too familiar. It definitely is the episode Smart and Smarterer, but they were also in middle school at the time, so obviously that makes sense. It gets really funny when London and the Paul Revere guy are actually on the date, and Cody has such a hard time at keeping the secret. Like, I wish he could have kept it a little bit longer, but it is way too obvious to just not overlook. London and this guy end up hitting it off, actually, which is crazy because neither of them know what's going on. It kind of reminds me of the Sweet Life on Deck crossover with Wizards, where Justin and London are on a date. Like, that was a funny moment, and another time that London didn't know what was going on, but it was a date. What? London ends up getting disgusted and feeling betrayed by Cody, but it all works out for both of them because the Paul Revere guy gets to say he was with London Tipton even if it was for a day, and London gets out safe and sound. Actually, I don't think London wins. Sorry. Cody ends up finally getting this job at the mini mart, which I've never seen somebody so determined to get that one specific job, but if it's conveniently next door, I guess that makes sense. And the episode pretty much ends with all positivity, with even Zack passing his test and getting to go into high school, something that the show is just going to keep diving into. So let's jump to the next episode, 3, called Sink or Swim, and they hit a territory that they haven't done before on The Sweet Life. London Tipton has a crush, which is obviously funny. London is one of my favorite characters in all sitcoms. I don't know why, like, she's just so good at owning it. And in this episode, she ends up falling for Lance the pool boy, somebody we've seen time and time again. But here, like, they actually develop a connection, and I kind of like the way they went about it, especially since it's not just like a one episode crush. Like, they end up having like this really sweet moment in the pool. Zack is officially out of summer school and trying to find something to do to be responsible. So he's kind of going back to his old ways, because now he's like not the smartest kid in the room. Funny that like psychology kind of works like that. He ends up wanting to get a job just like Cody did in the last episode. Funny that like there's this delay, but they both had the same goal over 2 episodes. Actually, it's kind of annoying because it makes me think that they just used the same plot twice. I think they did. So yeah, Zack ends up working for Arwen. Hilarious. I love Arwen. And they end up, like, doing all the stuff that a janitor would do, and Zack is clearly, like, upset by it the whole time, but it just gets grosser and grosser, and Arwen has such a passion for this. Like, I can't believe he's here working at the Tipton. Like, you should go to a better hotel. Or, I guess it's 5 stars, so it's a good hotel. Yeah, Zack's not super excited. Literally, they have sludge fall on them in the middle of the basement, which, by the way, is an interesting scene change. They have this, like, sewer dungeon-esque area that's, like, kind of equivalent to Arwen's janitor closet, which, surprisingly, we don't go to a lot anymore, and they go there in, like, the Muppets crossover special. They go there in this episode. It's just funny to have, like, new locations when we really haven't visited the old ones in a while either. In the meantime, in the B-plot, Maddie's plot actually coincides with London, which is pretty creative. I don't know how they managed to get so many Maddie plot lines when this actress was just not there. Basically, London gives her updates about everything going on with Lance, and Maddie at first is like, oh, that's so sweet, that's so cute. And then all the girls at the cabin start alerting the tabloids about London Tipton being with this guy. And then suddenly, like, London doesn't trust anybody, and Maddie feels horrible. But then London mistreats Maddie, and Maddie's like, oh, actually, I morally am okay with this. So she actually joins the girls, gets as much info as she can, and then keeps spilling it all on London, which... that's not a good friend, Maddie. I'm sorry to tell you. Zack is super sick and tired of working with Arwen, so he's like, I want a job at the mini-mart like you, Cody, and Cody kind of just lies to him and is like, oh, we're not hiring, yeah. Until Zack learns that they are hiring, and he just lied to him. Zack hates working with Arwen, and I hate that it gets worse for him like that. Because poor Arwen, he just cares about what he does. So Zack, being, like, pretty negligent, ends up ruining the pool with London and Lance in it, and it's filled with sludge. And basically, like, Arwen is in huge trouble because of Zack's negligence. And it's funny, because Carrie warned him. Like, Carrie actually went to Arwen, which I respect as a mother. I like that she went to Arwen and was like, hey, he's taking advantage of you. Like, he's not being a good person. It's almost like she's his mother, but also a good person at the same time. Hey, cutie. This huge mishap is really embarrassing for Arwen, who really cares and loves his job, and that's when Zack starts to notice maybe he hasn't been treating Arwen super fairly. Arwen even gives him the cold shoulder and is like, don't talk to me, which, oof, that hurts. I've never seen Arwen go out of his way to actually have to be cold like that. And seeing him cold breaks my heart. Like, we do not see Arwen in that light ever. If anything, it's kind of a missed opportunity. I wish we had more episodes where Arwen had a more big conflict with the boys. Which, we do have a couple good Arwen episodes coming up though, so stay tuned. They end the episode with Zack actually getting the job at the mini-mart, like, because he knows so much about it, and Cody just has to suck it up and deal with it. And that is episode 3, Sink or Swim. The third season is off to a really interesting start with all these plot lines essentially taking off after one another and nothing starting and ending within these 20 minutes. So stay tuned because it's going to get even more crazy. This one actually does flip everything on its head because Super Twins Season 3 Episode 4 was a part of a 3-part series with Hannah Montana and Corey in the house. It's called Wish Gonna Miss, and basically they had the same plot line span over all 3 shows. Cartoon Network did something just as cool called like the Invaded Takeover, where they actually used 5 shows. There has to be a record for something like that. Please check out my video about Cartoon Network Invaded because that was such a cool way to cross a plot line between 5 different shows, and it was super creative at the time. And yeah, this is kind of what's happening here because this episode's called Super Twins, and you'll be surprised, it's a genre-switched episode. So Mosby is at his peak anger with Zack and Cody, which is crazy because it's like been at least 60 episodes at this point, and he's like tired of them leaving their bikes at the Tipton. So Zack and Cody are just annoyed that they have to act like kids all the time when really they're starting to get really mature, which is always a funny plot line for kids shows. They see a shooting star and wish that they were actually like an adult, like they had superpowers. So Cody ends up getting the ability to read people's minds, and Zack gets the ability to run super fast. An interesting combo. I wonder how long it took the writers to come up with these superpowers, because if you only get 2 of them, like, you really have to make it work with the twins. They did a really cool thing, though. They made a lot of the Tipton employees be a part of, like, the villain brigade. Like, Mosby is the head evil manager, the meanager. Arwen, Esteban, like, they're all his henchmen, and it becomes really a part of this superhero genre, which wasn't even at its peak when this episode came out. I feel like when we started getting Marvels like Iron Man and started expanding into episodes like that, that's when, like, superhero got really interesting. But here, it's just them at the Tipton in a Disney sitcom, and it is super hyper realistic. Like, I can't believe they got away with something that was so ridiculous for such a grounded kid show. It feels like a stereotypical origin story with the boys waking up and they suddenly have their powers, don't know what to do with them, have a little bit of fun and games around the hotel with these things until they realize that they actually have a threat to deal with, the manager. They even managed to put Maddie in this in a really impressive way. Like, they have Esteban go all the way to the cabin to tie her up, and same thing with the girls, which I kind of like. It feels like she is a part of the show pretty naturally. I didn't notice Ashley Tisdale being missing in the show at all so far, so they did a really good job. The banter between Arwen, Esteban, and Mosby is the funniest by far in this episode, and I'm so glad we get all these like old characters recurring and coming into their own plot lines this season. It feels like we're getting one last spotlight on all of them. I think the costumes are where you lose me a little bit. That's when it feels more of like a cosplay or Comic-Con setup. Like, they definitely went a little too overboard on wardrobe with these episodes, but it's hard to complain when you like the episode. I mean, I like the episode. I put it in my worst episodes of Zack and Cody because I just don't like how genre shifting it is. Like, the thing that's best about Zack and Cody is the groundedness of it. So this episode feels a little out of character. Oh my gosh, when Arwen ties up Carrie and tries to sing to her, I don't know why, that's just one of the funniest moments in the series for me.
Time passed a little quicker, you know, a little music. I wrote you a song. You want to hear it?
No, what I want is to be let go!
I love Carrie, she's pretty as a fairy. I love Carrie, forgive me if I stary.
I thought it was painful being tied up.
Because it's like, of course that still has to go on despite the fact that they're superheroes. Like, they're so true to their characters even in this episode, and you gotta respect that, because if this was iCarly or Victorious, they probably would have just made some meta jokes and this would have just gone super haywire, but Disney knew how to do this right. The manager's overall plans is to turn all the kids into adults, which it's funny at first because he uses this ray it's like an adultifier or something, and it hits Bob and he just gets a suit, and they just assume that the suit is the superpower, which is so funny. And in the end, they actually turn the adultifier on Mosby, turning him into a baby, therefore defeating him, therefore comic book ending. Kind of. It feels like it's not doing well in the comic book genre, and it's reaching a little bit for the sitcom genre, so all around this episode feels a little awkward, but it has some good moments, like Maddie being included, London being included, and having Esteban, Mosby, and Arwen be the evil team. I don't know why, that part is just what really sells it for me. Oh, they end the episode by running the Earth backwards to go to before they got their superpowers, which, if you ask me, that's unnecessary. Like, you could have just woke up from a dream, they could have just found out that the superpowers weren't real. You really had to go the extra mile, rewind time, only to get everything back. I don't know, that was a little overcomplicated for me. But things get back to normal on episode 5. Who's the boss? And this one is a Zack and Cody classic episode because it's the boys fighting at a different location than the Tipton. Yeah, so at the mini mart, it becomes this huge superiority complex because Cody's been working there for a while, but Zack is better at the job, and Zack ends up getting promoted to manager, which really upsets Cody, and then just everything is off the walls in the best way possible. As you remember, Zack got the job a couple episodes ago before this whole Super Twins episode, and we're taking off from where that left off. These summer jobs are not long, guys. It's only gonna last 2 or 3 episodes. I could have sworn it lasted like the whole season. In this episode, Arwen actually invents something that allows to sort mail, and it just shoots the mail at you, like paper cut wise. And I don't know why, Arwen is just hilarious at every turn. He does such a good job in the 3rd season. It is peak Arwen era. We get a B-plot of London and Lance actually together, which is cool. I like that we had one episode of just having them have feelings for each other to see that it was genuine, and now we have an episode kind of testing how far they'll go to stay together if that's what they really want. Like, London's old book club friends, including Alexa Nicholas, come back for this episode to kind of show London's aristocrat side, her super rich side, which it's so funny because it's so few and far between that we see London actually getting along with people that are also rich and famous. Like, I feel like she spends most of her time with Maddie or like people around the Tipton, so when these guys come in, it's kind of more of an event. They definitely make the stakes a lot higher, and I feel bad for Lance because he clearly wants their approval, and London is like ashamed to be with him. Do you remember that in the 2000s when like people were more ashamed, like if you acted a certain way, to be seen with you or dating you? Oh, I hated those times. It's a very shallow experience. But, you know, it's happening in this episode, and it feels more like yesterday than I remembered. London clearly has feelings for him, which makes it even harder as a viewer to go through this because it's like you want London to make the right choice, but she seems so focused on her friends that like she's missing out on a good connection. Oh my gosh, so Lance in this episode tries to appear more sophisticated, so he gets help from Carrie and Mr. Mosby, which it ends up in one of the funniest scenes ever of just them trying to get him to act proper, and he only sees the world as like a fish boy. Like, I don't get that bit. That's a little unrealistic for a human character to be so into the water like that. But I guess he's like a surfer dude. What can you do? London gets advice from Maddie, which is actually really sweet considering that like they're still staying in touch and they're still friends, despite the fact Maddie's gone for this summer. But I like that. Like, it's really hard to keep in touch with your friends. So, like, the fact that they are doing it in a really meaningful way is kind of sweet. So with Zack getting the promotion, Cody feels like pretty inadequate, especially since like he's the smart one at school and suddenly his genius isn't applying to real life. I feel kind of bad for him in that department. Like that's really hard for him to accept. So he invents this like 5-arm machine, which is kind of something Arwen would do. Like, considering in this episode, like Arwen invented something, then Cody invented something. Point is, Cody invents this thing, goes haywire, makes him look worse at his job. What? That's a surprise. Wayne at the mini-mart essentially pulls the plug on the whole endeavor just to tell Cody, like, you are fired. Like, this is going way too far. And it kind of reminds me of the election episode when he invents that jetpack that he flies in. Oh, I miss the days of Cody inventing stuff. This is cool that they have it in this episode, though, and I wish they had it more in Sweet Life on Deck. That would have been, like, top tier. Sweet Arwen, though, trying to help Cody throughout this whole episode. I feel like he becomes more of a main character than he ever had before, and you have to appreciate that about him. So the episode ends with London trying to make it up to Lance by dressing up like a mermaid and looking ridiculous in front of all of her friends to show, hey, I'm not ashamed to be with you. Meanwhile, Lance does the same thing. He changes to wear a suit and actually be better for her. And it's kind of sweet to think both of them contributing. Like, it's all about compromise in relationships. They do a really good job at setting an example of that. And that plotline kind of ends really sweet. We learn a lot more about London. We know a little more than we need to about Lance. And then, of course, Maddie got mixed into all of this, so she's still relevant. And Zack becomes the bigger person by telling Wayne to rehire Cody and give him another chance, which is very sweet. I feel like Wayne should have done that to begin with. Like, it's still very noble to watch Cody make such sacrifices for this job. Like, he does not need to do that. I just clock in and clock out when I'm at work. Episode 6 is called Baggage, and this is where Nia gets introduced. Mr. Mosby's niece, and I wish she was in earlier. I thought she was in earlier, honestly. Like, this is jarring to me. And their relationship is really cute because it's kind of like the same way he is with Zack and Cody, where it's just fun to watch his buttons get pressed. And Nia is so good at doing that. She actually takes over for Maddie as the candy counter girl, in addition to Millicent. So now it's Millicent and Nia at the candy counter. Okay, that's a lot of math for me. But yeah, that's kind of random. You immediately can see her influence on this. Like, she clearly wants to just take the easy way out on everything. Like, she's not interested in learning too much. And that is where London Tipton comes in perfectly. She's like a more cunning version of Maddie, and bringing that to London adds a lot to their dynamic and probably fills in the space that Maddie would have given. She's great for the Sweet Life world too. Like, I definitely remember Nia from way back when, so I was excited to see her again. Unlike the other cast members like Skipper, or like, there's just some random people in this show, honestly. The episode's called Baggage because it's about the mini mart once again. They're trying to get all these Zack and Cody plot lines out of the way and have them in the workforce. I don't know why that becomes such a thing. It kind of reminds me of On Deck when Zack ends up losing all their money, so they have to get a job working at the Sky Deck. I like that they managed to make that a staple of that show. Like, that's definitely a positive thing, but if you know me, I don't love Sweet Life on Deck, so it's not like it's a complete win. But yeah, Wayne is against the Betsy Ross mini mart next door, which is even funnier. Like, I don't know why all these historical names have to keep coming up. Zack and Cody has a weird history with history. Like, they had that episode with Grandma Mosby where they learned about the first black sailor. Then we had the episode where they were doing the Boston Tea Party. And now it's just everything's named after all these significant people in the American history. It's random to me. It's too random. Basically, they do a bagging competition, which they actually did on one of my favorite shows, Raising Hope. And basically the goal is whoever bags the fastest. And Zack and Cody are competing in this little endeavor. It feels like not a super relevant plot line to be a Sweet Life of Zack and Cody episode, but it's comical enough that I want to see the boys in this situation. Nia realizes who London Tipton is pretty fast and tries to kiss up to her so that way she can get as much as she can out of that friendship, which is, at least right off the bat, you could tell that that's why she's being friends with her. I feel like Maddie would just occasionally want to reap the benefits from London, but this girl is full-on manipulation tactic, and I'm here for it. Mosby tells London that her and Nia can't be going to this concert, which is kind of a real blow for Nia because she gets to do all this with London Tipton. Like, it's a big deal for her, and so they get really upset, and then they come back a little bit later. Turns out they went to the party. Oops. We get Skipper back, and he is the interesting placeholder for Esteban. He's just this southern confusing guy that I don't know why he's in this show, and I don't remember him super well. I know he was in that Mummy episode, and suddenly he's back. Okay. They end up having this huge party in London's suite, and it actually collides both of the plots. Like, Zack and Cody end up going to the party, which is insane because they're getting ready for this bagging competition, and Nia and London get caught by Mr. Mosby for doing all this, and next thing you know, Nia's like, okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to move out because she's been thrown around to so many different families for acting this way. But Mosby's like, no, you know what, I made a promise to your mom and you're gonna stay here. I kind of wish that Mr. Mosby was like, no, like, I believe in you. Not like, oh, I have to do this, so I have to. It's like, okay, thanks. But yeah, it's good to see that Nia's going to be here for the long run. I really wish that she was introduced even earlier than today, but that's okay. I like that the whole party thing, they get in trouble for it. Like, that never happens on this show. And for a show about being in a hotel, you'd think parties would come up a lot more, but they don't. Oh my god, it's so funny when Carrie busts the party because Cody wants to take this girl he's been seeing with him who looks so much older than him and thinks that his mom says she could take him back with them. And I'm like, what? That's crazy. That's something Disney would never do anymore. Crazy. They end up doing the bagging competition, but Zack falls asleep, so essentially they lose the whole thing. Aw, I really feel bad because these guys were actually pretty good at it. Cody's really angry, understandably. But hey, you did it too, Cody. So the episode ends actually pretty negatively. They have to end up dressing up like the Betsy Ross mini mart from across the street, and it's kind of funny. It's interesting how, like, these episodes don't always have a moral, and then in this one in particular, there is a moral, it just doesn't end right. I don't know. It's a good episode, though. Baggage. Surprisingly enough, that leads us to another episode called Sleepover Suite. And this one's cute because it does take the original premise of the show, and it feels like it would be in season 2, but just the fact that it's like bringing back that original energy of Sweet Life, so funny. Cody has a crush on this girl that wants to have her birthday party at the Tipton. I've never heard of anybody wanting to have their birthday parties at specifically a hotel. Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, something in the area, like, I'm here for something else, but why in this hotel? Like, why is that so meaningful to you? Zack and Cody are stuck watching London's suite for a little bit, and they have this bust of her head, and I remember this episode so vividly. It's about Zack and Cody breaking that bust, and I could have sworn this was in season 1 because it feels like such an old plot line for this show, but I like it because it takes you back to that original energy. So yeah, Zack and Cody's misfit adventures ends up in this huge issue for the boys. And it's funny, the bit in this episode is that they have a bunch of barbershop quartets coming into the Tipton, and so they're all these, like, singers in pairs of 5 coming around, and it's like, why is that the bit? It's funny. I like the singers. I love singing. But yeah, it's just such a random thing. And especially since Carrie's a singer, like, of course this has to bite her in the butt. Like, all these barbershop quartets start hitting on her, which is not fair. Oh, come on, poor Carrie. Nia gets involved when she sees Cody trying to make this deal with this new girl, like he's just trying to impress her. Don't forget about Barbara, boy. And yeah, Nia is like, oh yeah, we're definitely here, we're gonna do it for money, and you could definitely take this suite. And then a bunch of girls show up and expect to have this huge sleepover party in London Tipton's room. But of course, Nia has to keep everything in order. Once she collects the money, she realizes, oh, I have to actually make this fun for the girls. Hey. That's a good point. Miss B says she likes Maddie. Oh, careful, girl. She likes to go on the computer setup. That's not how it works. Anyway. So Zack and Cody are trying to get away with hijacking London's suite. And Nia is collecting all the money. Hey, the girl from Austin and Ally is in here. I was not expecting that. Oh, and then London ends up coming back early, and this is actually kind of the funny part. She's, like, expecting to go back to her suite, but since all these girls are staying the night, they have to convince her to go somewhere else. At first, they're like, oh, you're on the wrong floor. And it's like, how in the world would she be on the wrong floor? She's not that stupid, but I mean, it's London. Maybe she is. So Zack and Cody start taking care of her in their own personal suite just to buy some time. And it's so crazy how they're, like, jumping from one place to another. Definitely classic Zack and Cody memory. Zack gets crazy in this episode because he kisses 2 girls just to distract them. And it's like, whoa, what's going on here? It's so funny, though, when he kisses the second girl, the first one's like, how dare you? And it's like, I don't know, that's a good joke, especially for somebody like Zack. So Mosby and London are, like, on the brink of finding out. Nia's gonna get in trouble, Zack and Cody are gonna get in trouble, and these girls are not having a fun party. London thinks that they're exterminators to get rid of the bugs that Zack and Cody lied about being in there, and it's so funny she does not pick up on that immediately. She has Ivana. Oh my god, remember Ivana? Turns out they have to come clean, say that the only reason that they had this party is to get the money back for busting London's vase. And of course, London doesn't really even care that much because it's just another possession to her. Come on, London. And then Carrie shows up with the barbershop quartet that are hitting on her the whole time, following her everywhere she goes. Funny bit, but goes too far, question mark? And London is like, oh, I wish I was invited to the slumber party. And when she realized she is, they continue to have it, which is an interesting win. I don't know if that was truly earned, but it was a win nonetheless. That's when we get season 3, episode 8, one of my favorites of this whole series. It's called The Arwen That Came to Dinner. We've gotten to see a lot of Arwen throughout these past couple seasons, especially when it gets later. You know, like we had the whole plumbing games when he was going against Irv and wanted to win the affection of Carrie. And this is the episode where we actually take all of his like previous references to like his mother and like kind of what goes on in his personal life to a head and get the boys involved. So it's definitely a really good episode of Sweet Life. Basically, we find out that Arwen's mom is dating somebody, therefore she's not giving Arwen the attention he quote-unquote deserves. Aw, kind of a sad story, but then grown man? I don't know. Zack and Cody start feeling bad for the guy because, of course, he's like a sweetheart. Like he's quirky and he's stupid sometimes, but he's a really well-meaning guy. So they invite him to come have dinner at their apartment. It's like pretty normal until he starts giving us insight on everything his mother does for him, like specifically with the food at dinner and expecting Carrie to do all this stuff, which kind of crazy because he has a crush on her, but I'm not gonna judge, I guess. They end up inadvertently inviting Arwen to dinner, and this becomes the beginning of a really funny comedic bit where he just overstays his welcome, stays the next night and the next night, and let's take a break from this and go to the B-plot. So London goes to Nia because she's getting insecure about her relationship with Lance. It's funny that we're actually still going with this. Like, I like that London does have feelings for Lance, genuinely cares about, like, what he does, because he likes her too, it's clear. And she's getting suspicious in this episode, and you know, Mr. Mosby's already on Nia about being a responsible person. She literally takes a tip jar to the candy counter, which isn't wrong. I think you should tip somebody at the candy counter. That's fair. So London asks Nia to do some snooping for her. Keep an eye on Lance and see what's going on. We learn that he is, in fact, going to break up with her, which is actually kind of sad, thus being the reason she dresses up as a mermaid, which I could have sworn she did in the last episode, but I guess she's doing it again. I mean, I guess that's how you keep Lance interested. I don't know. So yeah, they realize that they're really on different pages, and it's kind of sad to see them break up like that. Like, London clearly does care for him. Meanwhile, Arwen overstays his welcome to a hilarious degree, where essentially Zack and Cody are the mature ones in this relationship, asking, like, when he's gonna leave, like, what he's gonna do with his life, and suddenly, like, they're the moms. It's so funny, because it's like, when you act like a mama's boy so long, of course the people around you start to develop habits that make it complementary to that. And they end up convincing him to go back to his house. It starts to take a shift where it's just like, it's all about Arwen not needing to be alone. So they're like, we should try to get him a girlfriend. And then that kind of shifts the episode's tone. So it becomes more about them trying to hook up Arwen. They end up turning Arwen's original house, the one that he shares with his mother, into a bachelor pad. Like, with like hoops and swirly, circly chairs. It really gives you some insight on what the 2000s were like when they're like, this is what the coolest place looks like. Kind of reminds me of the iCarly episode where she gets a hot new room. It's like, what were we thinking was cool back then? Just purple and red? Is that enough? I don't know. Arwen ends up having a crush on one of the neighbor girls that keeps coming back, and it's kind of sweet. It's like the little boy next door story, but it doesn't matter because he has a crush on Carrie forever. So, like, what? Why? But I guess that was the resolve. Zack and Cody feel pretty proud that they got him to leave their place, but also still, like, genuinely grow as a person. It's starting to make me realize I'm missing Maddie because she would have been in this episode and been funny. So yeah, we're jumping between London trying to keep a relationship with Lance and Zack and Cody trying to keep Arwen confident. It's a very sweet episode. Definitely goes back to the origins of the show. But without Maddie, it's kind of sad. London and Lance pretty much officially break up in this episode, and that's kind of what it's most notable for. Let's get on to the next episode, though. Episode 9, Lip Syncing in the Rain. Now, apparently this one came a lot later than intended, but they put it in earlier to make it seem like Maddie was more present. It's the episode that makes a lot of meta jokes about High School Musical 2, and the fact that Maddie's not around. It's kind of annoying because it feels like a little bit too promotional to be its own episode coming out within the same year as the movie. Like, if it was later or earlier, maybe it'd be like, oh, that's a funny reference to something that didn't happen. But here it feels like they're trying to promote it too much because they did an episode exactly like this before, but we'll get into that. So in this episode, Cody is going out for the school play, which is such a funny term, going out. They kind of mock it in this. And he and Mosby actually bond over the fact that they both like theater. It's so annoying to see these guys so into it. I mean, it makes sense though, because like they've talked about theater before. It's just weird that it always comes off in this one-off episode. And then Ashley Tisdale comes in as Maddie, of course, and is also auditioning for it. Didn't realize they were all going to the same school, but okay. So this whole episode pretty much takes place on stage, and it becomes this hodgepodge of honestly nonsense. It's funny because obviously they all have their own goals. Like Maddie wants to get a part that just doesn't have a beard in it. London comes in, thinks she could just buy the part, which is even more crazy because she's right. Like all the teachers kind of fall for it and give her a part anyway. And this is the first time Zack and Cody are old enough to be in a show with them. It does remind me of the last time they did this episode with Selena Gomez, and it was more the Midsummer Night's Dream parody. Yeah, so it's just them doing a play. Not a musical like this one, but it's like all these miscommunications going on in middle school. And here, it's all the miscommunications going on in high school. And I like that London and Maddie are wrapped into Zack and Cody's plot. It's a really good, like, send-off in the third season to having them all at the same place at the same time one last time. There's this, like, really eccentric theater kid that keeps wanting to get the lead role, and he's so annoying. It's so funny watching people parody theater because it could get so meta so fast, especially since there's so much acting involved and a show within a show. Like, this is the best part of this. Of course, the jokes are funny with them referencing the fact that she could be Sharpay because she is Sharpay, but you know what? In retrospect, I'm getting annoyed at it, okay? Like, this episode seems a lot more funny than just that joke. When they get their parts in the show, everybody has, like, a whole new attitude about it. Like, Maddie is trying to prove that she has a dark side and can play a really intense character like Sharpay. And London, of course, is Sharpay, or Sharpie as she calls it, that's a funny joke that she calls it Sharpie. I don't know why, makes me laugh. Zack is a part of the stage crew, which is very fitting for him. I feel like he would be that kid. And then, of course, Cody gets the main role as, like, the Troy character, which is so funny because Zac Efron's been in this show before. Like, we're not kidding anybody, guys. And the fact that Cody's like, I'm gonna live the life of a jock. It's like, come on, Cody. You really think you're gonna live the life of a jock? Carrie tries to teach London how to sing, and it is horrible. London just like backs her into a corner with all her jokes. I don't know why. This is the funniest scene of London ever, is her trying to get through the singing lessons. Of course, Mr. Mosby has to insert himself into the fray and also give acting advice. See, Maddie, this is why it's good you're not Sharpay, or Sharpie, or whatever. Mosby gives her lessons, and she is horrible. Like, they go right to the next scene and do Bop to the Top, and London does not know how to do it, and everybody is horribly embarrassed. They eventually decide that Maddie is going to sing for London, so London doesn't have to sing, and then she gets all the credit, which is, of course, like, London doesn't realize that that is literally going to ruin Maddie. Like, why would she get so close just to not be involved? But yeah, it is funny the way it plays out, and to think that, like, Maddie does it without getting any credit is also funny. Then when it comes to the actual show, Mr. Tipton shows up, which is cool lore into London's existence. Meanwhile, Maddie's behind the curtain the whole time, starting to get really fed up with everything she's going through. Of course, Zack is there to be supportive, which I find kind of sweet. Like, I like seeing them, like, be at each other's side for most of this episode, considering it's, like, one of the last times we'll have, like, a lot of scenes together. But yeah, the whole show goes haywire, of course, because it can't go well, and all the boys enter the stage. Even Maddie gets on stage lip-syncing for herself and London, and it becomes a better performance because it's musical theater. Obviously, people don't care if they're in the audience. They're like, oh, that's my kid, whatever. And they end up throwing a great show by just throwing it all together at the end, which isn't actually how a high school theater production would work, especially since they don't really have costumes, it seems, or even a set. So, okay. That's how the episode ends. Fun one. Great send-off to Maddie. Let's move on. That's when we get to Season 3, Episode 10, First Day of High School. We finally get to see Zack and Cody in high school. And I remember this episode super well from the promos. I remember them talking a lot about how, like, everything's gonna change now. But really, I look back and think about all the episodes that follow it taking place under this new backdrop. Like, it feels like they just needed a place outside the Tipton, and they did a good job at making it be this. We learn that London is kicked out of Our Lady of Perpetual Sorrow, which is funny because we haven't seen her there in 20 episodes, and yet that's the joke. She's not there because she's not been showing up. So, like, Mosby is like, you have to go to school with Zack and Cody, essentially. And they do. On a boat 2 years later. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, London does have to go to their school here. I don't know why that Lip Syncing in the Rain episode came before this, because, like, wouldn't they be in the school? Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes production dates and air order is always confusing. You could check out the video I made on that, the Sweet Life episode count. Like, I kind of dive into the production versus the air dates and, like, why it kind of messes with the story in shows like this. So you could check that out in that video. But in the meantime, let's just accept this as reality. It's all about Zack and Cody trying to take on these new personas now that they're in high school, which is so funny because clearly they're always trying hard to do something. Bob, their best friend, the redhead, he is insistent he's going to be a jock this season. And I'm like, I thought this was the first episode of the third season just because of how this started. Like, I can't believe that's just how it went. But yeah, I thought this was the season premiere, but really it was just the 10th episode of the third season. Crazy how this show progresses so quickly. Nia and London also attend this school, so it's nice to have, like, a reason for them all to be in the same social circle. London ends up trying to buy her way through all of her friends, and it works. This girl named Ellen, I guess her name is, they all agree to be her friends if she keeps paying them, and Nia, like, kind of warns her the whole time, like, that's not how you make friends, and then suddenly Nia is in the responsible person's position. It's like, you can't be friends with London and expect to still be, like, the irresponsible one. Like, she's so hard to keep up with. Zack has a crush on this girl that already has a boyfriend, so he's getting a lot of drama pretty off the bat. This guy pretty much beats up Zack any chance he gets, and poor Zack this season. I feel like people keep beating him up. So Nia and Zack end up both in the principal's office with Carrie and Mosby showing up. And it's so funny because they're talking about, like, carpooling. They're like, this is obviously going to be a common thing, so we should get used to it. It's like, what? They run into Cody there too, and it turns out he's just being honored. Then we get this short-haired woman with glasses. She's the principal, and she'll come up a couple times from here on out. And she essentially is there to hype Cody and dismiss everybody else. Poor London. Zack and Cody get a new friend, this curly-haired kid that was in the summer school episode. So it's funny to see him, like, come back a couple times. I think he was also in that nightclub episode, Club Twin, from the second season. Yeah, this guy's just funny all around, though. I like him. This jock tries to beat up Zack with Cody stopping him, and of course, the teacher yells at both of them, and they're both in trouble. Zack just does not leave this girl alone. Like, she is constantly like, I don't like you, like, stop hitting on me, I have a boyfriend, and he just keeps trying, and I'm like, Zack, this is too much. This is too much for this episode. After defending Zack, Cody gets sent to the principal's office too, which is actually the perfect reason. He's never been sent there, of course. Can you guess? And then the episode ends with everybody getting punished. Cody, because he was trying to protect her. The boyfriend, because he was in a fight. Like, it just ends with the principal putting them all into detention, and even Mosby and Carrie are, like, borderline punished for all the events of these episodes. A crazy first start to the first day of school in high school for Zack and Cody, but it's definitely putting this whole season up to a really fun start. Not sure if you recognize the girl that Zack keeps hitting on. It's Danielle Panabaker. She's somebody that was in a lot of Disney episodes. I always got her confused with the girl on Good Luck Charlie, but yeah, they're different people. Sorry, guys. Episode 11 marks the halfway point of the final season of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and this episode is called Of Clocks and Contracts. And I gotta be honest, this episode is one of the more boring ones from the third season, but it does keep the spirit of the original in mind. So, Nia and London have to do a science project, and neither of them really know what to do. They're kind of, like, leaning on each other to get this done until they realize they could take advantage of Cody. Yeah, so Cody is trying to get paid by London, but then also help Nia. And he's like, oh, I don't want to be in between this. Let me just help you both. So he decides to do a potato clock for both of them and ends up doing all the work himself. Surprise, surprise. But that's not the crazy part. The crazy part is when it goes so well that they learn how to make French fries with it, and London and Nia end up taking it worldwide and becoming super successful for it. Why did that happen? In the meantime, Zack is actually representing Carrie because she's in negotiations with Mr. Mosby about her contract. Kind of reminds me of the writer's strike when people were like, no, we're going to strike until we get the fair deal we want. And that's what Zack is insisting Carrie does. He's like, you need to get everything you can out of this situation. And of course, Carrie loves that idea. She's like, oh, I want a bigger hotel. I want this. And Mosby does offer her a lot of things, but then Zack makes her double down way too much than she's comfortable with, to a point where, like, she's borderline going to lose her job. But he's like, no, like, they need you more than you need them. And it's like, what? So then he asks her to play the long game and is like, let's just stay out of it until they can't hire another person. And, oh, they do. Yeah, there's auditions literally the next day, and Zack befriends a clown and wants to represent him, which is kind of crazy. I'm like, why does all these people want a 14-year-old to help them through their financial and managerial issues? I don't know. So yeah, Carrie gets even more stressed out at the situation, and Zack gets more into it by starting to wear a suit and having a little earpiece. I don't know why. Zack is just so charming in this episode, because you know that he clearly does know what he's doing most of the time. He's just smart enough to not bring out his brains when it really matters. He negotiates with Mr. Mosby and gets her fired. Isn't that insane? Like, imagine your kid got you fired. But she tries to keep a brave face, and that's when they get auditions for new people, and it's just wacky. Later, Mosby does eventually start to cave, and another guy comes in saying like, oh, we want you, Carrie, working at our hotel. And Mosby's like, no, you work with us. And then they start fighting with each other until Carrie takes the other offer. But twist, it's not a real offer. It's the clown. Zack started representing the clown and then used his first gig to help get his mom more money. If you were the clown, would you have showed up for that gig? I don't know. And then Mosby's like, yeah, you gotta go for it. And so now Carrie's out of a job, and she thinks she's getting all these benefits, but nada. By the end of the episode, though, it does come out pretty well. Like, Mosby ends up hiring a comedian who actually is really unfavorable to all the guests at the hotel, so Carrie just comes right back in and takes as much as she can get. And it's kind of like a win-win episode, with Zack seeing his side that is actually like negotiating and like has a lot of potential. Like, this is a fun side of Zack. And seeing Cody taken advantage of constantly, like, it seems like the third season is really beating up Cody and Zack, and in a good way. It's like trying to mature them and trying to force them into the adult world, which is funny because it's like you see them less in the sewer, you see them less in the air vents, you see them not up to as much as they are having conflicts with other things going around them, whether it's like the hotel or the staff. It's all around, like, the show is maturing with them, if that makes sense. And yeah, just Nia and London becoming famous by the end of this, all for Cody's work. Hilarious. I don't know why. That's just like my favorite part. And that's when we get to the Halloween episode, Arwenstein. And this one's pretty interesting. So basically, Arwen is like, hey, Zack and Cody, stay out of this extra special room in the janitor's closet that I live. That line is actually never said, but it gets the point across plot-wise, okay? Trust me. After the Arwen that came to dinner, it's just nice to have him in more than a few episodes. Like, the more one-liners I get from that guy, the more I love watching this show. It tries to be very Halloween-y. Like, in the promos on Disney Channel, I think they really leaned into the fact that it was going to be a horror episode. It's kind of about this giant mechanical version of Arwen that he'd created and goes haywire around the hotel. The B-plot is that London is having a Halloween party, and whoever has the best costume gets to be it. I don't know. That's a cool win. And that's where Arwenstein comes in. It basically, everybody thinks it's Arwen, so it's the perfect scary outfit. The episode does take eerie turns. Like, it has, like, scary music every now and then. They try to keep it in a little of a horror realm, but it doesn't really live up to the Ghosts of Sweet 613 from the first season, which is essentially a really good Halloween episode. But I like this one, too. Of course, Zack and Cody think this is Arwen the entire time, not the robot, so it's definitely coming across really funny. Arwen communicating with Robot Arwen is hilarious. I'm liking this doppelganger type situation, like, because Mosby dressed up as Grandma Mosby, and now Arwen is also Arwen, and then in the Sweet Life on Deck, he is his own cousin, too, which is, and it's just all around, like, outlandish. This monster gets loose in the hotel and starts causing hijinks to everybody, like including Mr. Mosby. And it's all the boys' fault, so it's their responsibility to lock him up. Which, I don't get it. It's Arwen. He's a grown man and created this robot. Why is he not responsible for it? It's funny because it's like he put it together from just, like, a cereal box idea, which I can't believe that's the way. They convince everybody this is Arwen until the Halloween party, and then they finally get him to go with them. Cody and Zack are just trying to keep this guy a huge secret because they do not want to get in trouble. And it becomes a lot harder when they get to the party because people are like, wait, why is there two Arwens? Costumes are funny though. Mr. Mosby's dressed up as a werewolf. Estevan is also a werewolf. And Carrie is a ghost. Okay, that's fair enough. Arwen ends up wanting to put this robot away, and Zack and Cody get kind of attached to it, and they're like, no, you can't put him away. I'm like, guys, this is a Halloween episode. Can we just move on and get to the seasonal stuff? They end up accepting the robot for all of its downfalls, and I guess that's a nice resolution. Like, they don't trap him, they don't put him back, he just becomes one with them, and I guess a main character. Imagine he's in the theme song. That would be crazy. But yeah, that was a really good episode. Definitely a good Halloween special. I wish I watched this in the most recent Halloween, but what can you do? All around Arwen Stein, great episode. Season 3, episode 13 is called Team Tipton, and thank God Maddie's in this again to make us convinced that she's not doing a movie and ignoring the set. Can you imagine? So she comes back from quote-unquote Antarctica, which I just saw you 2 episodes ago. I did not think you were in Antarctica, okay? And immediately she's involved in this team-building exercise thing. Zack and Cody had already ruined these bagpipes, because apparently they're having a bagpipe convention at the Tipton. This Tipton has, like, all the events under the sun, like the quartets, the bagpipes, the French twins. I don't even know why they're having so many events at this hotel. Like, you're 5 stars, you're fine. And now Maddie's just getting back, so everybody's kind of having a mini reunion. Kind of kills the moment that Zack and Cody ruined the whole bagpipe situation. And Mosby is like, we have to settle this, like, everybody has to get along, or this is not gonna work out. Because Nia and Maddie get in a big argument over the candy counter. It's a job. I don't know why they take it so seriously and are at each other's throats about it. Especially since Maddie's not even going to be in the rest of the episodes. Like, why even talk about it? So yeah, Mr. Mosby gets them all to do team exercises, leaving Zack and Cody to their own plot and the entire staff of the Tipton on their own plot, which... hilarious idea, by the way. We get to see Esteban, Mosby, Maddie, Carrie, like, everybody is trying to be a better team, and seeing them, like, go in with that good intention but end up in such hilarious issues is hilarious. And it's weird because obviously Zack and Cody don't want to get in trouble for ruining this whole bagpipe convention, so when they come in with a bug convention, yeah, like, there's these people that want to show off insects, Zack and Cody can't resist and end up knocking all the insects all over the hotel, and it is disgusting. I hate bugs, but this is crossing a line. Like, Zack and Cody then have to track down every one of these bugs throughout the Tipton, and if I were anybody checked into this hotel, I would be furious. This is disgusting. But it is, like, it does have its comedic moments, like, they end up eating the bat that Zack tries to catch them with, so it's definitely a funny, like, break from the Team Tipton aspect of the episode. It, like, justifies why they're on their own trying to figure this out when here Skippy is joining the boys. I don't know why Skippy's even still involved. But I like that both of these plots are going on simultaneously. I don't know why London is involved in the whole team effort, because she is just rich and exists in the hotel. Like, she's the one paying for everything. I don't understand. The bugs end up interrupting the Team Tipton exercise and actually gives everybody a reason to come together and stop it, which inevitably builds their team anyway. So I guess it's a success by the end of this episode, yeah. All around, it's great to have, like, one last hurrah with all the Team Tiptons, because, like, Esteban, Maddie, like, they're so sparse throughout this season that it's just nice to see them, like, being a part of it still. I mean, the fact that it's still Zack and Cody at the forefront is good enough of a distraction that you don't really notice it. Some incoming and outgoing characters are really good at texturizing all the missing parts, and I don't think I noticed a single episode without all these characters. Like, this 3rd season, like, I can only know looking back that Maddie wasn't there, but I definitely didn't remember that at the time. Okay, then we got Season 3, Episode 14, and this one is called Orchestra, and it's another one of those extracurricular activities episode. I know we had Books and Birdhouses, which was about them in woodshop. We had the Dear Nancy column when they were in the newspaper club, and here is one of the first high school experiences, and it's orchestra. Zack thinks it's called band, which is so funny. Of course, he doesn't know what this is, and I'm still surprised we touch on so many extracurricular activities in this show. It's kind of impressive. And this one is more so about Cody's relationship. Basically, like, they're all in this orchestra together, and there's, like, this huge event coming up, and the teacher is putting pressure on everybody to be like, hey, we're going to die if we don't win this. And it's like, okay, that's kind of intense. And Barbara starts commingling with this guy named Sergey, and they just make fun of a guy from another country. They do that thing that the 2000s do where they make his race really vague, or, like, his culture, so they just have him have a thick accent. And of course, Cody's threatened by this. He thinks that he's going to lose all of Barbara to him. And it's so funny to see their relationship progress because they do throw a lot of interesting romantic moments between Cody and Barbara, but I don't know, it still feels like an immature relationship. Zack plays the triangle in the band, and it's so funny because he's like committed to it and can do it. It's just so simple, like he barely has to do anything for this whole thing. So while Cody is having like the craziest experience of his life, Zack is just like, oh, this band stuff is so easy. In the B plot, it's really funny. London is actually determined to learn more about what the people do at the Tipton and goes with a bunch of people like Esteban, Arwen, and like starts to see what they do, but makes things 10 times worse for them, which is so funny. Like, she's just as disruptive as the boys at this point. She follows the maid to Carrie's room and just straightforward makes the whole situation worse, but this is like kind of my favorite part, and then expects them to clean it up. Like, that is not cool, London. Then she overhears everybody trashing her from Mosby's office because she's playing with a stapler. I don't know how dumb is she supposed to be? Mr. Mosby, like, can hear them and ends up confronting London, and she's like, oh, I just fired them. And he's like, what? And that's actually, like, that's the peak of the episode. Then we get to the orchestra concert, and it pretty much finishes off with Zack trying to get there in time because he took a nap in the middle of the performance. Like, he was so bored he couldn't sit through his own performance. And of course, Cody's playing Whisper Down the Lane with everybody in orchestra, trying to figure out what's going on with Barbara. But once they actually confront each other, which is in front of a studio audience, why in the world would they play Whisper Down the Lane in front of all these adults watching? It's so inappropriate. And whatever, Cody and Barbara, they share a kiss and they make up for it. I don't know what orchestra is, if it's even relevant to this show, but the characters are really funny. London's plot is what I'm here for at this point. A Tale of Two Houses, Season 3, Episode 15, is actually one of the ones I remember the most of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Probably because I didn't get Disney Channel until like 2008, 2009, and I believe the show was on its final season, so they were probably just playing these episodes over and over and over again. And this one's really interesting because it dives into Carrie and Kurt's relationship, the boys' parents, and it's kind of about Zack and Cody, but more so about their struggle to kind of keep this divorce civil, and you'll understand what I mean by that when we get to the end of it. But basically, Zack is not allowed to be alone with his new girlfriend. Like, Carrie is like, nope, it's not appropriate. I'm not sure if your guys' mom did that, but my mom definitely did that. They have this nerdy kid friend that keeps following them everywhere and insists he's their dad's son too, which I find really funny. This guy's like in like 2 or 3 episodes at this point, but he's already one of my favorite characters. I just miss Bob. Like, where's Bob been? And in the B plot, Esteban actually finds out that his family struck oil, so he's rich. So London actually takes him under her wing and shows him how to be a bad person, pretty much. And he's just like buying things off of other people. He even ends up taking London's suite from under her, gives Mr. Mosby a bigger offer, and the dad can't refuse it. So London is just out of a hotel room. Oh my gosh. But it's really funny the way, like, London gives out the advice and he listens. Like, clearly it's like comedy gold here. I don't know why London's episodes have just been really good lately since Maddie's been gone. Kind of feel bad to say that. The boys learn that Kurt's new apartment is going to be actually right near the mom's house, so he's going to have his own place, and the boys can spend their time there, which is actually getting to that divorced parents plot lines that I've always wanted. I love those. They're really good. Because, like, no other Disney Channel show does it, you know? And once Zack and Cody find out that their dad's apartment is empty most weekend nights, they decide to steal the key from his apartment and have their dates there. But crazy situation, they don't know each other's doing it. So Zack goes there to entertain his girlfriend. Next thing you know, Cody told his girlfriend the same thing, that they're going to spend a night at their condo, and they catch each other in the same lie. And then they keep trying to get away with it. They end up like on a double date, which is so crazy, the fact that they like try to make this work. And the next thing you know, their other friend shows up with his girlfriend, and you're just like, I didn't even know this guy could get a girlfriend, let alone a model like that. Like, what? And of course, Kurt finds out, and the boys get in trouble. But then you think it's gonna go downhill worse because Carrie shows up, and it looks like Kurt did all of this, like their dad. So they actually, like, take the mature route, and they're like, okay, actually, no, this is our fault. Like, don't get mad at our dad. And it's very sweet. I like that they take that moment to actually, like, take accountability for what they do. When Zack kisses Barbara, it's kind of insane and asks her to come back later. Like, what? Zack, you can't do that. All around, like, a very memorable episode for me. It definitely took me back to growing up and watching this show so much. So this is a good one. Then we got episode 16, Tipped Online, and this is funny. I mean, obviously the Tipton and Online combined, it just shows how ignorant we were about new technology in the 2000s, because most of this episode is about London having a web show. So Cody decides to help London make a web show because she only gets 1 million hits online, and her best friend Portia gets 5 because she has a web show. So then they're like, let's start iCarly. No, I'm just kidding. That's a separate show. But you know what I mean. So yeah, Cody is the tech producer like Freddie, and London starts this whole Yay Me podcast. And this is the staple of the original show. Like, I can't believe it came on this late in the series. Like, it's the last 5 episodes, and this is one of the best ideas. So yeah, you understand how really dumb London is. Like, before, earlier in the series, like, she would just be, like, kind of selfish, but now she's just straightforward, like, stupid. Like, everything she says on the show, she doesn't understand a single word Cody's saying. She doesn't understand what he's supposed to do, and she ends up taking advantage of Cody, like, humiliating him online, and the chat is just, like, blowing up the whole time. They actually get pretty successful with it, and we get a lot of really ridiculous references to new media that it looks like they don't know what they're talking about. Like, they're referencing online and being like, shut down the internet! It's like, that's not possible, guys. But I do like that there's a Zack and Cody episode that gets into more of the relevant stuff of our age. Like, that was new at the time, and we were all doing stuff like that. So the fact that they're trying to throw a web show is like a really funny idea. When Cody feels underappreciated, London ends up getting her friend to do it and then makes her eat dog treats. It gets like worse for her, and she basically has to make a character development moment and actually apologize to Cody. Like, everybody demands to see Cody. One even writes Cody-licious in the comments, and it's like, what? And she offers a formal apology, actually getting to Cody, and he's like, oh, this is so thoughtful. And the episode kind of concludes like that. They both feel appreciated, and London can continue taking advantage of him, pretty much. Like, he's not helpful. Oh, and then there's this side plot of Zack being obsessed with this video game. It's like an online battle game, and he just speaks gibberish to Carrie. Obviously, Carrie doesn't know the technology. I barely know what he's talking about in this episode. And it's funny because it's like, we did start the online gaming culture back then. I don't know if we had like a physical sword that we attached to the computer as much, but we definitely had some aspects of that. Later, Zack actually finds out that the villain he's been fighting in the game is Mr. Mosby. Yeah, Mr. Mosby is an online addict. It's so funny to think that they're both on the internet all the time, apparently, now that they just have laptops. So they end up finding out they're both a part of this group, and then go to get help for it, like an AA meeting for people that go online too much. And I can't believe that that's a thing. Like, it's not even a thing now, and we're online way more. All around, Tipton Online is a very, socially relevant episode that I feel holds up pretty well, except for the lingo they use in the episode itself. All around, though, funny times. I definitely noticed Maddie missing more in this episode than usual, which is kind of sad, but you know, we're almost at the end of the series. We just need a couple more with her. Season 3, episode 17, foiled again. And yeah, I think that guest appearance of Tony Hawk must be the most interesting. I remember this is when the show must have gotten really popular. It starts getting more saturated. The boys start outgrowing kind of this whole hotel. Like, they're not into their usual hijinks. It feels like the show is actually wrapping up in a pretty unique way. The boys are doing a science project where they actually have to find something like scientific and report on it, I guess. I don't know. So Zack and Cody find black mold in the hotel. Really bad timing because Mosby is about to have people over the hotel, as he always does. Another one of those weirdly specific conventions. I don't know, who could this be? And Cody and Zack are like freaking out about it. Cody starts having really big realizations on how they can't escape bugs or germs, and like has a full-on existential crisis. And this is where he starts to remind me of his Sweet Life on Deck counterpart. I feel like this is like the environmental Cody that keeps coming back up. This is the episode where he really gets into it. He gets a full white bubble suit, and he keeps getting called a marshmallow because of how ridiculous he looks. This episode should just be the episode with characters in white suits, because the same thing's happening in the B-plot. Maddie and London are taking fencing lessons from a really handsome fencer, and they both have a crush on him, but make a rule that neither of them can date him, okay? Then, surprise, surprise, they both establish dates with him. Then they start getting in a fight, start fencing themselves, and let's put a pause there because there's still more going on with Zack and Cody. So then Zack and Cody try to warn Mr. Mosby, who is like on red alert, and everybody's freaking out, especially since Cody started wearing this marshmallow suit. It looks like mold is definitely in the hotel. Black mold is apparently really dangerous, so they have to warn everybody. Chef Paolo's in this, which I like, a little callback to some of the old characters, Chef Paolo. And I'm like watching Mosby really closely to see if he actually tries to hide this secret or tell them up front, because I don't know why. Like, I would love to see if they're trying to get something deadly out of the hotel. Like, that's a big moralistic question for him. And of course, Cody can't live his life like normal because he has to wear this suit everywhere. It just gets all haywire when the rumor starts spreading and everybody realizes that there is black mold in the hotel. These episodes are starting to get a little bit gross. Like, we had the bugs episode, now we have this. Like, everything that hasn't been let out in the Tipton before is just happening now. Maddie and London have a full-on fencing fight into the lobby where Cody is also in his white suit, and everything kind of goes haywire there. They learn that the mold is not actually that bad, which is a pretty good solution, and London and Maddie learn that Diego actually has a girlfriend already, so he's kind of a player and wants to date both of them, which, girls, he said yes to both of them on dates, and they're both surprised that he's a jerk. Like, I can't believe, like, that shouldn't have been the first red flag. But yeah, it was fun to get some shout outs, like Chef Paolo coming back, seeing Maddie and London have a plot line to themselves again definitely reminds me of classic Zack and Cody, and seeing Cody just go overboard because of something Zack told him is exactly what the show calls for. So this all around was pretty good episode. Romancing the Phone is actually, like, one of the last Maddie episodes, I would say. Like, the rest of the show, she's, like, barely in. But in this episode, somebody is, like, missing their phone, and Maddie keeps answering it, and it keeps sounding like it's, like, this perfect man for her. Like, somebody who likes the opera, and likes all these things. And it's kind of like a modern-day Catfish episode, where she doesn't know what he looks like, but she's fallen in love with his personality. Basically, people keep asking her what she's gonna do, and she keeps falling for him more and more. And this is the most, like, socially accurate episode, I would say. Like, it's like, yeah, we were definitely on their phones that much. This is how we talked to people. And if I were Maddie, like, I remember being a teen, like, having a crush on people just because of their interests. Like, this is relevant for that reason, too. Of course, everybody thinks she's crazy, even London. That's why it's fun to have, like, a Maddie is the crazy one episode. This one has to be notable for its guest stars. We have Drew Seeley and Jaden Smith. So in this episode, Cody is, like, embarrassed that he's not as tough as Barbara, which is such an overdone 2000s plot. Like, the classic toxic masculinity traits taking over. Like, of course, that has to be in Zack and Cody, too. This kid that Jaden Smith plays is one of the most cultured people out there. Like, he knows Japanese traditions, he knows how to cook, and he's just a genius all around. It's clear that he only really wants a friend, too. Like, it doesn't matter to him that he knows all this stuff, so he keeps asking the boys, despite, like, them asking him to do favors, like, oh, teach me karate, teach me Japanese culture, show me how to make food. Like, they're using this kid for so many things, and it's, like, not even fair for him, and he just wants to go out bowling, and he's like, can we go bowling after this? And you feel, like, really bad for him. But it's just funny how smart he is. So yeah, the boys use him in different scenarios to try to figure out what's going on with the girlfriend, and meanwhile, Maddie's fantasizing about what it's going to be like to meet this guy that's exactly her dream. And it just builds up expectation throughout the episode. I feel like her bit is a lot funnier than the Zack and Cody bit. It feels like they just wanted to plug in Jaden Smith to something. And yeah, this is a lot of fun we're having in this episode. Cody gets wrapped up in this really complicated thing where he wants to do this, like, tea ceremony for Barbara's grandmother to kind of show her respect, and he doesn't remember how to do it. He needs Jaden Smith to help him, so Jaden Smith walks him through the whole thing and then ends up getting in trouble himself, so it almost, like, embarrasses him in front of Barbara's grandmother, making the whole situation a disaster. And he wears, like, a kimono and everything. This cannot be culturally appropriate, guys. Come on. It's funny, but is it appropriate? And then, yeah, by the end, of course, Barbara's just happy that he put in the effort to begin with, which I wouldn't have got that, Barbara. You're pretty angry most of this episode because of him trying this stuff. It's all around a lot of fun. Maddie ends up finding out that the owner of the phone is actually a really old man, and I'm laughing because I'm like, that makes so much sense. Like, who else would be into opera like that? He tells her, though, that he has a son that is her age that might be interested in dating, and she actually has a win at the end of this episode. She just goes off with the guy, and I'm happy for her. She's had a lot of bad situations in the past. Remember the time Eric from Drake and Josh was here and she was on a date with him? That was random, but all around, this is a really crazy episode. Romancing the Phone. So Season 3, Episode 19 is called Bench Warmers, and this one is the second to last episode, but it's so funny because it's a lot about London, Cody, Mr. Mosby, all of them joining the cheerleaders. It starts off being more about a basketball episode. Zack is determined to do a really good job at basketball, and they have this new coach who is huge. I think he's like a guest star. I don't know what he's famous for, though. It's so funny, though, because it feels like it's about to be about basketball, but then the whole plot is more so about the cheerleading. And guess who is the head cheerleader? Daniela Monet from Victorious. Didn't see that coming, did you? Did you? I like Daniela Monet. Sorry about that, guys. She gets really intense about this stuff. So yeah, Daniela Monet is the head cheerleader, and she is pretty much gatekeeping the cheerleaders at this point. So now London goes to this school, and I keep forgetting that. We have to remember that. And she also wants to be everybody wants to be a cheerleader, but Daniela Monet is not letting anybody be. She takes it way too seriously. Barbara tries out for cheerleaders, and Cody's kind of sexist about it, but what can we do about that, really? And yeah, she's too smart to join the cheerleaders, it seems. Nia, London, all these people want to be on the cheerleading team, but since Daniela Monet is not letting anybody, it's not really a positive experience. Oh my gosh, but one of the funny jokes is, like, one of the girls is also from My Lady of Perpetual Sorrow, and Daniela Monet is like, oh, well, that explains why you put this together. No, Rosie! My guest star's gone. When everybody's bummed about not being on the cheer team, they decide to start a cheerleading team of their own with Nia. Nia is the candy girl, the new one that is related to Mosby, and yeah, she's interested too. They end up forming a cheer squad together, and they're all like the misfits, like they're the ones that didn't quite make the team. Cody wants to join too, but he's like too embarrassed about it until Mr. Mosby gives him like a huge speech. Hey, like, there's some good male cheerleaders out there, and you're like, okay, Mosby was a cheerleader. Makes sense now. They even like rehearse in the lobby of the Tipton, which I find really funny. Oh, the French girls are back. That's another notable thing. Like, toward the end of the series, we get one more appearance from the French girls. And they're so funny. I like that they're, like, incorporated throughout the show, especially since we haven't seen Bob in a while. Like, some of the main characters still keep coming back. So London, Cody, and Nia, with the new cheerleading squad, take on the school's official cheerleading squad, which isn't very cheery of them. And how many shows at this point have them joining cheerleading squads? Like, Hannah Montana does it. I think I just saw an episode of Wizards of Waverly Place, like, and Zack and Cody too? Like, come on. This is supposed to be the only male-centric show on Disney Channel, and of course they're all joining a cheerleading squad as well. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And yeah, Nia ends up getting way too aggressive by the end and getting their team disqualified. Meanwhile, of course, Zack is trying to prove his worth on the basketball team, and none of these distractions are being super helpful. He does finally manage to get the winning basket, but that's kind of how the episode ends. The cheerleaders end up coming together and actually performing together because they actually have a lot more in common, which is crazy. It took them 22 minutes to do this. But yeah, so that's kind of the end of that. Benchwarmers is a really funny episode because I thought it was about to be more about basketball, but it seems like they didn't do the thing they did in the first season by being about a basketball team. They made it more about the cheerleading squad, and I like that a lot, especially since we got Cody in there. Like, we have the main characters involved, so we're fine, okay guys? Yeah, that's Benchwarmers. Oh, and sadly enough, we're getting to one of our final episodes. This was originally supposed to be the last episode in production order, but since they made the finale a clip show, Mr. Tipton Comes to Visit, they decided to put this episode before that, which for me is kind of annoying, because Let Us Entertain You, the 20th episode, is actually like the unofficial pilot for Sweet Life on Deck. In this episode, Zack and Cody try to get their mom to go on a Tipton cruise with them, because since Carrie works there at the Tipton, they can get a discount on the cruise. So they're like, okay, let's do it, let's go on vacation. But Zack and Cody did not tell their mother that she actually has to be singing and performing in order to take this vacation. And they try to like weasel their way around it. They're like, yeah, but it wouldn't be a big deal if you had to perform. And she's very much like, no, it would ruin my whole time. And they still, like, don't tell her up until they even get on the boat and start going into the festivities. The manager of this boat is a really condescending woman that actually makes it seem like she's about to have this all-inclusive cruise, but Carrie doesn't know that she expects her to sing. When Carrie finds out, which is pretty quickly, they try to lie and say that there's, like, the prettiest passenger on the boat gets chosen, and I think that's a funny joke. But yeah, then she quickly finds out that they're only staying because she has to sing. And she gets furious. Basically, it's like, no, I'm not gonna sing. Is there anything else I can do? And they start treating the passengers super poorly, which I feel really bad about. The manager is basically like, okay, well, you're gonna sleep in this ugly suite, this, and this, all because you're not gonna sing. And I feel so bad for Carrie. I feel like Zack and Cody kind of put her in a really tough position in this one. And then we have in the B plot, they're actually doing a fundraiser on London Tipton's Yay Me show, which is actually really funny that, like, she tries to get everybody involved in the Yay Me show. Mr. Mosby ends up being a guest star because none of the guests can show up. There's like a huge blizzard in Boston, which is rare, I guess. And Ashley Tisdale is taking Cody's position as the producer. And with a couple of the staff members from the Tipton, they actually try to raise a bunch of money. But they never really could get it up from 0, which is kind of ridiculous. They even get it to -10 at one point because somebody orders pizza. All around a really, really funny episode, especially in the B-plot. Then we get Carrie still not wanting to perform, but since the boys really can't survive on the boat, they have no choice. So Carrie ends up performing, and they get all their luxuries back, which is really sweet. But then they feel bad for Carrie, so Zack and Cody decide to be the one to be the entertainment, which is a really funny solution, and they're pretty good at singing, actually. Listen to this number.
If you're feeling weary, baby, sail away with me. Let your cares drift away upon the 7 seas. Once you pack your bags, you've got nothing to lose. We're gonna have a great cruise.
It's weird to see this premature excursion on the Suite Life on Deck because, you know, like, the main set's a little bit different. They don't even have the hot tub set up, and seeing the boys like in their natural states, like from Suite Life of Zack and Cody, makes it feel like we're going into Suite Life on Deck a lot more smoothly. So I really do like this episode, and it makes a lot of sense in context of the spinoff. I wonder what it would be like, though, if they didn't have the spinoff. I feel like it's still a good episode nonetheless. Seeing Carrie, like, struggle to, like, talk to her kids about this is also really funny. And it's good that we get our final episode, 21, Mr. Tipton Comes to Visit, at the Tipton, because it's our last moment there. And I don't know if you guys heard me talk about this before, whether it was my blooper video, my clip show video. Basically, the final episode of Suite Life is all of them in the Tipton, and Mr. Tipton is coming to visit, which obviously is in the title, and it's a clip show. It's basically we get each of the employees at the Tipton expecting to either get a bonus or somebody getting fired because of Mr. Tipton's visit. And all the stakes are raised, and basically everybody's trying to make a defense for themselves as to why they should either get the raise or get fired. And it's really funny because obviously we get all these hilarious moments throughout the, I don't know, 80 episodes that Suite Life has had. And there's no better time to do a clip show than I feel like the finale of a show. Like, sure, it sucks that, like, we don't get one last original story, but we do get, like, one last celebration, and I'll never fault them for that. Like, Drake and Josh did miss the Dr. Phyllis show at the end of season 3, and I thought that was a little premature. This one, at least, is, like, a little bit of a nice experience. All around, Mr. Tipton Comes to Visit. Not the ideal way to end a show, but I definitely think it was a good way. And it was really funny to see them come together one last time. It's weird, though, because Zack and Cody had, like, the least amount of flashbacks and new scenes because of the fact that they're going to be on the next series, which, I don't know, like, still, did that really... They're the main characters. Why would they not get the majority of this? So yeah, that is Mr. Tipton Comes to Visit, and that is the last episode of The Suite Life of Zack and Cody. Dang, we went through 80 episodes pretty quickly, and I'm so sad to, like, say goodbye to this, especially since I feel like they really picked up their stride when Zack and Cody got to high school. I think, like, Maddie coming out was actually pretty impressive. All around, like, great series, phenomenal ending. The second season only had some weird moments for me, but all around, like, I loved watching this show, and I hope you guys liked watching it with me. We've come such a long way, and I really don't know if I want to do the Suite Life on Deck, but feel free to let me know in the comments if that's even worth it. I would love to dive into it, but I really don't want to. I guess I wouldn't love to then. Yeah, the point is, if you guys want me to, I'll do it, whatever. Thank you guys so much for watching Johnny 2000 and sticking with me to the end of another series. It's like so weird going from the first season retrospectives all the way to the last, and I really like to do full series deep dives. It's just like a little bit at a time. So the more you guys like and share, the more I can keep doing what I do, and thank you guys so much for letting me do it. I really appreciate you, and if you guys want more shows or have any ideas for stuff I could do in the future, please don't hesitate to comment on my channel, like join my community. I just started a Reddit page online called Tween TV, so don't forget to check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.